Right, okay, let's talk about the impacts of war. This will be your final exam on Tuesday, the 16th of June. Um, and this is the sources paper. This is where you get the exam paper, but you'll also get a sources book associated with it, with various different sources related to one topic. The topic could be on anything we have studied. For example, it could be on propaganda in the First World War. It could be on propaganda in the Second World War. It could be about the experiences of evacuees. It could be about people's experience of rationing in the Second World War. It could be about how the war changed women's lives in the First World War. So on and so forth. It will not be about all of them. It will only be on one topic we have studied. And so when you get the sources booklet, read the blurb very carefully at the top of the sources booklet, because it tells you what the focus of your inquiry is about. Okay, you've got 5 questions to answer on, I think it's 6 or 7 sources within the booklet. They follow a pattern, so you need to know how to answer these sources. Have a look at the practice papers we did in class. Have a look at the faces sheet that I stapled onto all of your practice papers. Gives you a rough guideline to each question. I'm going to go through them with you now, so you can have a look at that at your leisure. First question is worth 6 points. Don't spend much more than 5 or 6 minutes on it. Because I want you to make sure you have more than enough time to get to the last question, which carries the most marks, and do yourself justice on it. Okay, first question is the inference question. An inference is something that's implied or suggested without being explicit. And it could be a visual image, it could be a piece of writing. So you have to make at least one inference. Please go for 2 inferences. And please support your inferences by referring to things within the source that have suggested the inference to you in the first place. No need to bring in own knowledge for this one. This is the only one that you don't use own knowledge. All the other 4 of the 5, you must supplement your analysis of the sources by bringing in your own knowledge of the particular period or topic. Okay, that's the first question. So that's 5 minutes, and not much more than 5 minutes. Second question is the message or portrayal question. It has been in the past often a visual source. So you'll be asked to analyse a source, and all sources are created for a reason. Nothing appears out of thin air. Nothing appears in a vacuum. It has been created and produced for a particular purpose by a particular person. They're asking you to analyse it and work out, why was it produced? What's the message within it? And how do you go about doing that? Talk about the detail within the source. If it's a visual source, talk about, if it's a drawing, talk about how people have been drawn in an attractive way or in a disparaging way. Are they shown small? Are they shown large? That reveals things about the artist's views of a particular event. Talk about the colour. If it's a colour image, the image could be in colour in the booklet. Talk about the size of the font. Talk about exclamation marks. If it's a written source, talk about the vocabulary. Talk about particular words that have been chosen. Nothing happens by accident. Everything in this particular section has been created for a particular reason. What's the overall impression you got from this source? And again, bring in your own knowledge for this one. Supplement your analysis with your own knowledge of whatever they're talking about. Spend about 10 minutes on this one, 10 to 12 minutes at most. That's question 2. Question 3, quite straightforward. It is likely to be on a key event within your topic or a key person within your topic. For example, if your topic was the Blitz, it might introduce Winston Churchill, for example. If your topic was on creation of the NHS, it might be on William Beveridge, or it could be on Lloyd George, or it could be on if it was the suffragettes, it could be on Emmeline Pankhurst. So it might be a key individual, key event. Use the source, bring in your own knowledge. It's quite a straightforward one. It's just asking you, use the source and your own knowledge to explain something, the significance of something. 15 minutes for this one. That leaves us with question 4. This is the usefulness or reliability question. It'll give you 2 sources, and you have to come to a decision, a judgment about which one you consider to be the most useful or the most reliable. Please don't talk about just one of them. Talk about both of them. Think carefully about NOP, and you should be doing this for 4 out of the 5 questions. NOP, again, I'll recap. N stands for nature. What is it? Is it a book? Is it a diary entry? Is it a photograph? Is it a cartoon? Is it a newspaper? Because that will alter how you think about what's in it. The O in NOP stands for origin. Who's produced it? Do you trust them? Do you think they're reliable? Do you think they're representative of the wider people who experience something? Are they authoritative? Are they in a position of power and influence where what they say would increase in value if they were in a position of influence? So consider reliability. Who's producing it? Is it representative, or is it someone's isolated views? And is it authoritative? Again, talk about the content of the source, but also talk about NOP if you can, and bring in your own knowledge. Again, 15 minutes for this one. Which leaves us with the big one, which carries the most marks, 16 marks and SPAG. So what have I written down here? Usual stuff: essay, style, answer. Introduction, brief conclusion, separate paragraphs. Leave a blank line between each of your paragraphs. Use connective words and phrases if you can to link each paragraph to the preceding paragraph or even back to the question. They will give you 3 sources. Don't go beyond those 3. Just concentrate on those 3. As a rule, 2 of those sources will agree with the proposition. One of them is likely to give the opposing argument. They are looking for you to be aware that the events and people can be interpreted in different ways. So they are asking you to be aware of there's 2 sides to this story. If I were you, I would use those 2 sources that kind of agree with each other first, that agree with the proposition, then bring in your own knowledge that agrees with the proposition, and then look at the counter-argument. On the other hand, in contrast, this source gives us a different view of whatever. And from my own knowledge, I know blah, blah, blah. So you're giving both sides of the argument. You must reach a conclusion, and in your conclusion, you must reach a judgment. What do you agree with and why? Again, this is the big one. I'd spend half an hour on this one. So working from the front, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. That should add up to an hour and 15 minutes. Hopefully, yeah. Have a look at your sheet, have a look at your little booklet, have a look at your past papers that you did very well on. Very pleased with what you did. Be aware of 4 of the questions want you to consider the nature, origin and purpose of the source, and 4 of them also want you to bring in your own knowledge. Good luck, revise, and I'm sure you do very well.